Hello. I bet you all been wondering why I've gathered you here today on the internet. No. I bet you're wondering why I've gathered you all here today. Well, that is because I am here to bust some myths about OCD. Let's bust some myths about OCD. So, have you ever been like, have you ever thought to yourself, you non-OCD person, been like, oh, everyone's, or have you heard someone else be like, oh, everyone's a little OCD. I have to have all my stuff organized because I'm just a bit OCD on the inside. You're wrong. They're wrong. It's a disorder. You know those shirts that are like, oh, I have OCD, except it's CDO, because I want it to be alphabetical. Those are bad. Also, like, obsessive cat disorder. No. OCD does not stand for obsessive coffee disorder. It stands for obsessive compulsive disorder. I mean, it could. I mean, right. That's how most people see it. Okay, myth 2. Transition. A lot of people say that OCD is like, oh, it's not a big deal, like, just don't do it. And I'm like, sure, if what you think OCD is just some certain habits that you do that you don't really have a reason, and you just do them because, well, no, here's the thing. People with OCD will do the compulsions that they do because they believe that it is helping them feel safer from some actual threat. Like, for me, I'm afraid that I may hurt someone, just or choke them or stab them. So I do these different compulsions, such as fidgeting or mentally reviewing that I'm okay and that I won't have, and that I'll be fine and that I'm a good person. And this goes on forever and ever, and I get stuck. And that's what the compulsions are for me, at least. And it's a pretty big deal. It does take up 3 to 4 hours of my day every day, so, you know, I mean, at least before therapy. The third myth that I hear a lot is that people are like, oh, it's just, OCD is a good thing, right? It helps you be neat, you know? It's a good thing. Well, that's because a lot of OCD people in media especially will do the OCD that's the most outwardly presentable, where the most people can outward symptoms. So there are certain people with contamination OCD who they do clean and they do make sure that everything is perfect, and that personally isn't me, but that's what most people in media show because that's what most people can actually see and notice. But that's put such a stigma on all types of OCD that people aren't willing to even understand that any other types of OCD happen. And even for the people with contamination OCD, I don't know, washing your hands until they bleed is not being a neat thing anyway, so just sure. And now you may be asking, what does my OCD entail if it's not that? Here's the thing. Well, I actually have quite a few types of OCD, but okay, different subsets. They're all intrusive thoughts, but OCD will latch onto anything as long as it's something that you personally care about. What it'll do is take that experience and be like, oh yeah, what if you don't feel that way? I'm going to talk about my harm OCD. So sometimes I'll see a knife, or even things less than a knife. At one point it was a toothpick, and it was oh yeah, my brain was just oh yeah, you should stab that toothpick into someone. You make them put it in their food and make them swallow it, and then they'll die. And I'm oh no, what if it does? I gotta get rid of all my toothpicks. Oh no! And that's come on. But it is more than that though, because it's just this loop that you get stuck in that's like forever. Like you're like, oh, I'm not really gonna hurt someone, but what if you do? But like, I'm sure I'm not going to do that. I'm like a good person who doesn't condone murder. But like, what if you could hear about those like teenage serial killers who like felt no remorse for anything they did? Yeah, like that's true. I probably will kill someone eventually. Oh, okay. I'll just never leave my room or talk to anyone again because I'm a monster and there's no saving me. And like it really does get that like over the top that quickly. And it's and what my brain tells me to do to stop this is that it's always like, oh yeah, you gotta make sure that you're not evil. Like, if you're not 108% sure that you're not gonna hurt someone, or like 108% sure that you are going to hurt someone, like it's either way. And like, no matter what, you're gonna, like, actually, I want to talk about this. Before I got diagnosed, I would imagine it as if like I had like a house like in my brain, like in my subconscious, and whatever the thoughts would be, they'd be like these big monsters that would like come up to the house, and I would like try to like bat them away like in this house, like try to kill these monsters. But no matter how much I assured myself that there was nothing wrong, that I was fine, then but it didn't matter because it was my brain, and they would still keep coming back. Like even in this metaphorical picture I had set up, like I could picture the shadows of the problems I had like creeping up back into everything, and I just couldn't get rid of them, and it sucks. Like have you ever like I don't know if this is something with OCD, but have you ever had a dream? Now, have you ever like been daydreaming, and sometimes what I do is when, and this may be part of my OCD, I don't know, but like what I'll do when I'm feeling stressed is I'll imagine like a feather like drifting up and like down in the wind, and that can be helpful. But then sometimes, even though my brain, I like consciously think of it going up and down, sometimes it'll just stop in my brain and I can't get it to start moving again, even though I'm the one making this daydream up. Or sometimes it'll be like everywhere, or like, and that's, this has happened to people without OCD, I don't know if this is a good analogy for people who don't have it, if I also don't have it. Well, and I thought that for a while, for a really long time, that I couldn't have OCD because most of my compulsions are mental things. Like, as I said, it's like getting out the shadows. It's because, or like leaving my family, or like to go hide in my room for 8 hours, and I was like, oh, that can't be OCD. Like, come on. I'm very messy, let's be real here. Like, I don't like cleaning things. That can't be OCD. So it does help my OCD, though. Like, all hope is not lost, because there's a way. It's a pretty sweet way. It's also incredibly terrifying. So take my analogy again of like the shadows in the house. The best way to actually help your OCD not take over your life is to like invite the shadows and monsters in for like a cup of tea, like play Uno with them, being like, you know, there is a chance that I may hurt people. Other people have done it in the past. People will do it in the future. It's part of humanity. You're gonna end up hurting someone, and that's incredibly distressing for me to even entertain as like a possibility. But like, not giving your OCD the certainty of what it wants is kind of, it throws it off its rhythm, and you can and it'll always be there. It'll never be cured. But you know, letting the shadows in, letting them acknowledge that it could be a part of your life, and letting yourself choose whether or not you'd want to stab someone, and not letting these shadows take over your life. And, you know, acknowledge them. Be like, you know what, you're here, but I'm still not going to stab someone. But I may one day want to stab someone, but it's not because of you, because you're off taking a spa day that I gave you with fancy bath salts and like 18 million rubber ducks. I'm pampering you, OCD, but I'm also not giving you what you want, because you are not going to be hurt by me, which is what you want. So, well, no, so for anyone out there, and here's the thing, a lot of the things that people have, including myself, are things that are honestly, like, even more awful than, like, just stabbing someone. And for a really long time, I didn't want to tell any of my thoughts to anyone, because I was afraid that, like, they would actually, like, turn me over to the police. And the best way to go for this is find someone who's educated, like really educated about how OCD is, and approach them about it and have them get you help, because you do not need to suffer for any more than you already have.